What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Brent Pritt with Science of Falling, and today we're going to be talking about a model that I started using a little while ago called the base of support model. Now, I kind of made this up to a point, but I'm sure you guys have all seen something like this at some point in either your schooling career or your clinical career. So this model, this base of support model, is all about teaching a patient why they have balance issues and how we are going to get them back to having good balance and not falling. So one thing I notice a lot is that I get patients coming in, they come in with some imaging or they come in with these giant words they don't understand. And they say, well, the doc told me this, or the radiologist told me this, or the so-and-so told me this. And they say, I don't know what that means. Because I don't. It's all big jargon to them. These images that if they have like an actual radiograph, they don't know what they're looking at. If they have an imaging report, they don't know what it means. If they have a doctor telling them they have so-and-so pathology, they don't know why they have it. They don't understand the progression usually, and they don't understand what they can do about it. So if we get these patients on the same page as the entire healthcare team, they become a part of the team like they're supposed to be. They're no longer this subject for all of us to work on. They're part of the team to make decisions, informed decisions, because at the end of the day, we're all about the patient, and the patient is the main player on the team. They make the final calls. If they don't understand what's going on, they can make the wrong call for their own situation. They could just follow blindly in our plan of cares, or they could even just say, you know what, I don't understand this. I don't want to do it because these words sound scary, and I don't want to do surgery, or I don't want to do PT because I don't believe in it, because I don't understand it. So all that basically tells me that we need to bring them in on the team. And every time I help a patient understand what they've been being told, whether it's only one doctor visit and I tell them what happened then, or it's been months and they basically say, I still don't know what's going on. Can you please just spend 30 minutes with me and tell me what's happening and how do I get to where I want to be? How do I make myself better? So in terms of balance, this is where this model comes in. A lot of times people don't understand why their balance is so bad. They haven't done anything different in their life. So why should it get worse? And this base support model essentially tells them exactly what they want to know. So I usually get a pen and paper, excuse me, and I just draw a giant circle. And I say, this circle is your base of support. We put their feet in it, and I say to them, this is you inside your base of support. So this circle is your limit of balance. If you go past this circle, you fall. That doesn't mean you fall to the ground. You might have to use a stepping reaction or one of the like techniques like a shoulder roll or something to make sure you don't fall to the ground, but you will stumble, you will trip, you will fall over, and you have to catch yourself or fall to the ground. So I get the pen, I put a little dot in the center. Give me this brush. Put a little dot in the center right there. And I say, this is where you start out every day, right when you stand up. This is where you're going to start out your balance at. Now, normally, we kind of squirm a little bit, weeble and wobble. We don't notice this though. This is very unnoticeable, all these weebles and wobbles. We're never perfectly still, even if we think so. I don't care how good a balance you have, you're never perfectly still. It just doesn't work that way. So as they weeble and wobble, you're pretty good. So let's say this person, weeble and wobbling really close to the feet, nowhere near the edges of the base of support. This is probably more of like a teenager after you get through the growing pains of being a baby and a toddler, and you're a little more balanced, you're feeling pretty good, you can skateboard, you can go do crazy gymnastic stuff, like your balance is on point. This is what you're going to be looking like. You're still wobbling, but you're not getting anywhere near these base support. Then you're getting into your 20s. You're getting a college student. You're sitting a lot more, studying a lot more. You probably got a job of some sort. Who knows if it's active or not. But your base support is still far, far away from where you're weebling and wobbling. 30s come around, you finally get a real desk job, like most Americans do. Real desk job, you're weebling and wobbling, but you're not bad. You're not tripping everywhere, right? For the most part. You might stumble every once in a while, but nothing too bad. And then all of a sudden, 40s comes around, you stop working out. Life is hard. You got kids. There's no time for that nonsense. Who needs to work out? You're 40. You've been walking your entire life. You don't care about it. 50s come around. Getting real lazy. Work is bringing you down. But see how close you're getting to your base support now? Your weebles and wobbles are a lot more aggressive than they used to be. 60 comes around. Those weebles and wobbles get real aggressive. You know, you're going close to the base of the support, but you still got a little margin there. Every once in a while, might fall out of the circle. That's a fall right there. But you catch yourself. 70s comes around, all of a sudden you're really following this line. You're coming close all the time. You know, here's a stumble right there. That's a fall. So every time you go outside of this base support line, that's a fall right there. Now, again, you might not fall over. You might have to catch yourself, but you're still stumbling. You're still having an incident that can be considered a fall-like event or a tripping event. All right, so that's how this model works. I basically tell the person, hey, when you're young, you don't need to work on it because you're already doing a lot of activity. As you get older, the reason the balance gets worse is because most people become sedentary for some reason, especially in, if you're watching this in America, the American kind of culture is a lot of, you know, when you're young, play around, but then eventually becoming a kid, like doing those kind of activities becomes frowned upon. So what do? You end up sitting a lot more. You end up watching a lot more TV. You might get into really sedentary sports. Um, you know, those kind of things. You might start playing cards a lot, something like that. Poker's your thing. I don't know. But you're not moving around a lot and using those balance and that motor control as much as you used to. So that's where you get into this trouble. So when a patient comes in and they have these balance issues, I say this is what's happened to you. You basically stopped using those muscles and the motor control and training yourself to be okay. So I say, well, with a little bit of balance training, we can take you from riding this line out here. I'm doing some green to make it a little bit different. And with balance training, all of a sudden, you start weebling and wobbling right here again. Not as good as you were when you were 15 or 16, right? But you have all this margin right here to prevent yourself from falling. So let's clear this out real quick. That was a lot of lines. And then that would usually be the end of the conversation. That basically tells the patient, hey, this is why you're weebling and wobbling. This is the progression of the weeble and wobbles. This is why you fall. And this is how we're going to get you back. With training, we bring that base of support control that you have within the base of support, rather, inwards, leading to more margin of error. So you have all this margin of error right here, and you're wobbling in here. Now, in the clinic, after I explain this, what I'll actually have the patients do is learn where their own personal base of support circle or bubble, whatever you want to call it, is. So what I actually have them do is literally lean on their toes, their side of their foot, whatever it might be, and they're going to trace the edges of the circle so they know where their limits are at this point. So they'll literally find the edges here, they'll trace a little bit all the way around, and I'll have them do it in both directions. I'll have them do it forward, sideways, back to back, diagonals. I want them to really become intimate with their own base of support circle. Once they have that, now they know how much leeway they have before they fall. So you might have some patients that, you know, they're right here and they go forward just like a micro centimeter. All of a sudden they stumble because they don't have that much control within their base support. Then if you do this with like a 15, 16-year-old, they're going to be able to almost do like a Michael Jackson lean because they have so much control in that base of support circle. They don't need to worry about it, and they're strong enough to counteract the forces trying to throw them to the ground. Now this base of support circle changes depending on the foot position. So right here, as I was showing you, is more of the basic, Romberg-like stance, feet together. This stance is what I usually use to test a person's basic baseline. Do you have a significant balance problem? So if they can't stand like this at all, they are pretty dang bad, and we need to really work on this balance, or they're going to have a fall, they're going to have a broken hip, something bad's going to happen, and their life quality has a high chance of going down quickly. So let's think of a different way. So I usually only do that model. If the patient has extra questions, then I go deeper into it. Oftentimes afterwards, they are completely on board with my plan of care of getting their balance better, working on their balance any way I deem fit, and we get it done. And you know, within weeks, they're like, "Oh my God, I feel so much better." We do the base of support circle tracing again, and they're like, "Oh, I just feel like I'm more controlled. You know, everything's super easy compared to what it was." So let's Let's change it now. Say a patient says, well, why do I walk with my feet really wide? Why do I always have to feel like I'm a toy soldier and going sideways instead of walking straight like I used to? Well, that's when we explain how their base of support changes in that respect. So when someone walks sideways like that, what's happening is they essentially are opening up their feet, as we know, right? Because that's, wider base support. And then their breadth of contact with the ground increases. Now, the breadth of contact forward and backwards in their stance doesn't really change significantly because when a person's walking, they're always expecting to fall forward and catch themselves in a very controlled manner because walking and running are basically both controlled variations of a fall and a stepping reaction to catch yourself, but it's all in a controlled manner. But side to side is a lot harder because when you're stepping onto your right foot from the left foot and you're going towards the right, you can't necessarily catch yourself as easily if you were to stumble that way if you're trying to walk in a nice inline fashion like most people do in a healthy population. So what we do here is I would basically just tell them, well, you're walking wide because when your base support's here and you start wobbling, you can go side to side a lot easier. That's almost twice as much room now of air. And forward and backwards, you're just catching yourself anyway, so it doesn't matter. But going side to side, you're giving yourself a larger margin of air to play with and not fall with. So when we get them into a better position, their balancing is better, they will start walking again in a more up and down fashion, looking like this. And there you go. So that would be walking from the left foot leading to the right foot. And now we have a straightforward oval. The side to side is not as big, but they don't need it because they can control themselves a lot better, leading to a normal gait pattern. So there you have it, guys. There's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down with this. But using the circle model is probably the easiest model to show your patient. It literally takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending how many questions they have about what's going on with their balance, why is it happening, and how we're going to bring it back to weeble and wobbling in the center and giving them lots of margin of error and essentially stopping them from falling. Anyway, this is The Science of Falling. Dr. Brent Britt. See you next time.